gonna go ahead and apologize to everyone here. I got a bit of a cough, but we'll trudge right through this. I'll give everyone a few minutes to join because I know it's impromptu. So. Yeah, let me go ahead and send out a tweet. We're live. These thumbnails are fucked up. I don't know why I keep saying live trading number 3. It's not right. But whatever. And then we'll get started in like, I don't know, 5 minutes, but yeah. For those of you who aren't aware, I've been sick for the past week, so you're gonna have to bear with me. I have a slight cough, so. Hopefully it's not that bad. I'll try not to cough in the microphone. Okay? Deal? Deal. Let's go ahead and make you a little smaller too. Yeah, a lot of coins are about to go into market phase right now. I've got a big ass list of them. XRP being one of them, surprisingly. But I'll go into all that soon because I got a lot to talk about here. Let me organize these charts so we can have a cohesive stream here. Ooh, Siacoin, about to make a new high. There we go. You know that shit coin would do something. Okay, so we got 2 charts here. Okay. And I'll try to make it through the stream without coughing up a lung, so I apologize. Alright, so let's just go ahead and get started because no time like the present, right? First of all, how's the audio? Is it loud enough for you guys? Do I need to turn anything up? Get the audio levels straight, and then we'll be good to go. Audio good? Sweet. All caps, man. All right, so first, let's talk about what Bitcoin's doing, because I think it's playing an important role right now. So right now there are two possibilities for what Bitcoin is doing and what it's about to do. One of which I've been pretty vocal about on Twitter, which is that it's a possible, which is going through a possible distribution phase right now. The other is that it's going through a reaccumulation phase. So I'm going to place a strong argument for why I think it's going through a distribution phase and what evidence we have in the market. So I'm going to pull up some examples, some historic examples of parabolic markets and how they tend to distribute to the retail investor. So first, let's zoom out here and let's take a look at what Bitcoin's doing. So if you've been following the stream for a while, you've been well aware of this parabolic and linear trend. We see here the parabolic is obviously in black, the linear is in purple, and over the past couple weeks, we've actually broken out of it. Okay, and this type of breakout is called a hypodermic trend, meaning it's already in an aggressive slope and then it breaks out of the aggressive slope, and this can often lead to distribution. It doesn't have to lead to distribution, but it often does. Okay, so we see here we've got the strong parabolic trend, then we've got the linear trend, and it broke out of both. Right? So here we are. And I'll make a little box around this so we can keep track of it as we zoom in. I feel like my cough is making me sound like the Men's Warehouse guy. You know what I'm talking about, that commercial for Men's Warehouse? Where's a box? How do I draw a box? Box. Okay. Rectangle. So let's go and keep this like that. Okay. And now let's zoom in. 240. Okay, so now we're on the 4-hour candles. Starting to get a little closer. Let's zoom you in a little here, like that. Okay, and we start to see. Okay, so just to keep track of trend lines, here's the parabolic curve, here's the linear curve or the linear trend, and red is the hypodermic trend line. Okay, so let's zoom in to the 120-minute view, and we can see a very clear supply and demand line as it breaks the parabolic curve, and we see the hypodermic trend as it bounces off the bottom of the curve, and it kind of maintains this linear sort of trend here as it goes up and it breaks it, right? Breaks above it. So where does that leave us now? As we broke out of the parabolic curve right in here, I get my Wacom tablet pulled up so I can draw on this thing. Okay, let's go ahead and pull you up. Okay, all right, let's make you black. Yeah. Okay, so here's where we broke. Oops. Here's where we broke out of the parabolic trend. This is everything in here is the parabolic trend. Everything between these two lines is the parabolic trend, right? So we saw a test of it, it broke back in, and then it continued up, right? And now all in here is the new trend called the hypodermic trend line, or the hypodermic trend, right? We see a very clear supply and demand line. Supply usually means that once it reaches the top, it comes back down, and demand usually means once it comes back to the bottom, it goes back up, right? So just basics of market dynamics. As a trend comes up, there's an abundance of supply, it goes down. As it comes down, there's an abundance of demand and not a little bit of the supply, and it kind of oscillates like this, right? And so you can have these in ascending channels too, like that. And that's what we're seeing here. So we see that it actually broke above it. So we broke above it here, broke back into it, and now we broke below it, and we have not been able to break back inside the channel, which is pretty telling because it's right in line with a lot of historic examples of it's called a hypodermic blow off, is sometimes called hypodermic trend. But within the macro hypodermic trend, which is what we would see on like the 12-hour, for example, right? We see this hypodermic trend where it extends parabolically out of a parabolic trend. We can have distribution along that trend as well. Okay, so let's go back to this 60-minute view. We can see here, we've got a very clear trading range in here. And as we're going through this trading range, something interesting is happening, right? All of a sudden, once the price, this is where it gets really interesting, right? So we saw a breakout of a new all-time high. It almost broke the demand line, this dotted line here, but it didn't. It broke out and went back in. And now we're seeing a retest here. But as we're retesting, all the alts are going up. Or not all of them, but a lot of them, right? So there's a ton of alts that are breaking out right now, including, you got Ether, Litecoin, of course, you got OMG, you got XRP, and I'm going to go into all these in detail. Okay, so I've been tracking these for a while, and for those of you who are like in my trading community, I've compiled a giant list of these coins that are on the verge of marking up, and we've been keeping track of them, and we've all been tracking them together. Like if anyone has a contribution that they think is going through accumulation or markup or distribution, we've been keeping track of it, right? So I'm going to talk about some of the coins, not all of them because we don't have time because there's a ton of them, but some of the coins that I think that are going to be likely candidates in the next round of markups for alts. Excuse me, let me get some water real quick. Okay, so before I go into those, you guys have any questions about any of this stuff? Someone said, you're going to like the alt you invest in. I guarantee it. Yeah, I sound like the Men's Warehouse bro. That salt and pepper handsome individual. Apparently that Men's Warehouse guy doesn't even actually do that voice. The dub over his voice, but they use him because he's a good-looking dude, I guess. Or maybe that's the most interesting man in the world. Something like that. Like one of those guys has like a surprisingly different voice than what they dub over him. Okay, so before we go any further, let's see if you guys have any questions. What does it mean for Bitcoin when you can't get through the demand line? So that means that the price is accelerating at a growth, but there's no demand behind it. So the thing about the demand line is like the demand line is the trend that brought you up, right? It's supposed to be support, and we broke through support. What would nullify this distribution? If we broke back into the demand line and held support there, or if we went sideways and started accumulating sideways, it's totally possible. You know, this is just one option, and I can show you some of the historic examples here, because there's one that looks like exactly like what we were doing, or what we are doing currently. We could break this down here. So let's make you full screen. Click on the, oh, nice. Okay, so we see here a very clear, looks very, very, very similar, right? So we see the supply line, we see the demand line, see the buying climax here. Secondary test doesn't quite make it up to the buying climax or the supply line, and then we break down through it. Let's go ahead and sketch on this. So we're here, boom. We broke down through it here, boom. And now we're struggling to break back inside. So right now we would be somewhere like right here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a new all-time high here. You know, it depends on what the market wants to do. But right now, with the alts surging like they are, it's gonna be interesting to see how much capital from Bitcoin actually flows back into the alts. Because right now they're at historic lows. A lot of them are at historic lows relative to Bitcoin. So if you're looking at the alt Bitcoin price, they're at significant lows. So I would not be surprised to see a lot of capital flowing in there to get the quote unquote cheap alts. What's the difference between distribution and reaccumulation? Distribution is the top of a market cycle, and reaccumulation is a short pause in a markup, and before it reaccumulates, it consolidates all the floating supply, and then it marks back up to go to higher prices. Oh, also, I want to show you guys this, because this is what I mean by hypodermic trend. So this is another thing that I've been following. So okay, so let's move you, I'll put you over here. And we'll look at the 12-hour. Oops. Okay, so now let's compare these two things. This is called hypodermic distribution. Okay, so we see here, this is our linear channel right here, the purple line right here, and then we break north of it here. So that would be right here. So within this hypodermic trend, we get distribution right in here. So we got to keep an eye on this line right here, because if we break below it, this is going to be a sign of a macro markdown phase that could send Bitcoin into a greater markdown. So just two things to keep an eye on. Did you learn Wyckoff mostly from stock charts? Yeah, I learned Wyckoff mostly from stock charts and this paper that John Bollinger shared a while back. Bitcoin breaking out. Nice. Let's keep an eye on that. Okay, so right now Bitcoin's breaking north of the trading range. Okay, so let's see if we get an up thrust after distribution. That's why I have this here. There was another question here. Do you ever turn bull? It seems like you've been perma-bear. What? I'm holding Bitcoin right now. I'm just saying that there's a possibility for distribution. The easy case to make is that Bitcoin's going to keep going up forever, right? But I'm trying to show you the other side of the coin, that there's also a possibility for this. Like, do you really want to come to my stream and hear me just say Bitcoin's going up forever and ever and you're going to be rich forever and ever? Like, no. That's not informative, and that's not going to tell you anything insightful. I'm showing you some similarities that I've found for distributions, so you can keep an eye out. And in the event that certain things happen, like we come back down and break below this hypodermic trend line, like you have a heads up that like this is a very real possibility that it could happen. So if you want me to like baby you and wipe your ass and tell you everything's going to be okay forever, then you got to go somewhere else, because that's not going to happen for me. I'm going to give you objective analysis. It's what people pay me for. So okay, let's go ahead and talk about some of these alts and what we can expect. We'll keep an eye on Bitcoin and we'll check on it throughout the life of this stream. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's look at Ether Bitcoin, because this is very I know a lot of people trade Ether. So let's look at the 12-hour view. So so we can see here, let's go ahead and turn off the Bollinger Bands here. So we can see here. Okay, I need to actually update this chart. So this needs to be, this needs to be JAC, which is jump across the creek, right here. Okay, so we can see here that Bitcoin's been going, or Ether's been going through. So this is Ether Bitcoin, mind you. So relative to Bitcoin, Ether's been marking down for months since June. It hit its all-time high in June on multiple markets right here, and it's been slowly marking down. But what I noticed a few weeks ago was that Ether looked like it was in a trading range in here. This would be called the accumulation range right here, and this motion right here is called the spring. Okay, and we can see here that there's the creek. I'm not going to bore you guys with the details of this, but just know that there are textbook signs that that larger players are accumulating Ether via Bitcoin. So they're trading Bitcoin for Ether via the ratio here, and this is the footprint, the fingerprint of these large operators that are accumulating Ether via Bitcoin. Okay, so right now we broke out of this trading range to the bottom. This is called a spring, where it hung out and actually kind of made like this like double bottom kind of thing here, and now we're starting to test back into the trading range here. So you can imagine that if we break in here and we start trending inside this trading range and we break north of this, Ether is going to see some massive markups. Like, I'm talking massive. Like, we could probably see 4-digit Ether, 5-digit Ether, especially if all the capital that's been going into Bitcoin all of a sudden sloshes over to Ether. This could skyrocket and send Ether USD very high, very, very, very high. So this is gonna be something we got to keep an eye on. So Ether, Bitcoin, okay, keep an eye on this. We see the creek going down here, then we jumped across it last night, and this is actually what propelled the Ether USD price, was this ratio right here. Okay, so what else? So keep that out. Keep an eye on that. Okay, so we also have, I think Ethereum Classic is also going to see a nice markup phase here. So if we look at the 240-minute candles, let's look at the 2-hour. Where'd my trading range go? Oh. Okay, so I also identified this guy, Ethereum Classic. I want to put him into context too. So, here we go. So, so I think Ethereum Classic is about to go through a markup phase. We see, ooh, shit. We see another set of footprints here by the large operators, the composite operators for Ethereum Classic, that it's going through re-accumulation. Pardon my handwriting. You know, we got the buying climax here, automatic reaction, secondary test. And right now we saw, or last night we saw a sign of strength as it tested the upper boundary of the trading range. And I believe Ethereum Classic is going to have another nice markup phase. Price target for that, I don't really know. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go to 50 to 60 to 100 for Ethereum Classic. That wouldn't surprise me, especially if a lot of Bitcoin capital sloshes over to Ethereum Classic. right? And I bet if we look at the ETC-BTC ratio, we'll see the same sort of signs that we saw on Ethereum a second ago. Okay, here we go. How did I know? Oops. So boom. Not as clean, right? Not as clean, but we see another clear trading range here. I haven't even looked at this chart, but I could just tell. Okay, so we see an accumulation trading range here. We see last point of supply. We see the selling climax. We see the automatic reaction. So I'll label this stuff for you guys. So let's do last point of supply. 12 bold. Okay, so last point of supply. You see the selling climax. You see the automatic reaction. You see the secondary test. Then we see a secondary test on the bottom of the trading range here. And now we're kind of just going sideways. So expect to see, you know, a breakout of weight, you know, let's see, what is it, 0.00326. You know, Ethereum Classic could be going through a massive markup phase in the future. So let's keep an eye out for this thing. Okay. Again, this is ETC-BTC to further support the Ethereum Classic USD pair breakout. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go back to USD. Okay, let me go back to look at this list and see what else I got written down. Okay, so I have, what else is on my list? I have OMG. Okay, OMG looks like another strong candidate. Here, I think this is OMG. Yeah, OMG. For those of you guys who have been bag holding OMG, I got some good news for you here. Looks like OMG is going through a long reaccumulation phase here. Oops. Let's go put this here. Okay, so this one's not as well labeled. So let's go ahead and I'll label this for you guys. So this is the automatic reaction. Well, we could really call it this. We call this the buying climax here, but I'm calling this the buying climax. So this whole unit is the buying climax. Automatic reaction. Here's the secondary test right here. Another secondary test right here. And then we enter the creeks, right? So here's a jump across the creek. We see it here with the long, nice solid volume here. And now I'll start drawing on this. So we see here, this is called the jump across a creek, where you see the dwindling volume as it traipses down, right? You see the volume going down as the price moves down, and then we see a large injection of volume here as it jumps across the creek. We see this happen again right here, jump across the creek right here, and this just keeps happening. So there's actually a couple more creeks in here, and right now this is the final creek. You got to jump. So as it's waiting to jump this level of price, you know, before it just breaks out of the trading range. So right now this is in baby accumulation, but this has been reaccumulating for a couple months. So this is re-accumulation, right? And this has some large operators playing on this as well. We can see it with the massive volume spikes. So someone is accumulating a shitload of OMG. All right, so someone just asked a good question. What is a good entry point for these market phases? So for accumulation phases, there are two, well, there are a couple. There are like three. Okay, so I'll write these down. There are we'll say one, which is the most risky, is on the spring. Right, so here's OMG's spring. Right here. Okay, so this would have been obviously the best time to buy, but it's the riskiest because you don't know if you're in accumulation until it comes back into the trading range. So you're placing a very speculative bet in here that is actually a spring and not that it's just going to go to all shit, right? So this is going to be the most risky but the highest reward. Okay, 2 is going to be either on these jump across the creek, or on, this is called the BUEC, the back up to the edge of the creek. So you notice a lot of times after the jump across the creek, the market comes back to retest it. And it does this, it's very common for it to do it. So it jumps across the creek and then it retests it. So you can either get it as you're watching the creek jump. So if you're staring at the market and you see, oh, large volume just got injected into the market, I'm gonna jump on this. You'd want to either get it on the jump across the creek, so as it's crossing here, or on the BUEC if it retraces. Okay, and the third is to wait until it breaks out of the trading range. So wait until it breaks out of here, or breaks out of here and finds support on here, breaks out of here and finds support on here. Those would be the optimum times to trade the trading range. Inside the trading range, like in here, this is very sketchy because the entire point of the trading range is to shake people out of positions so that large players with large sums of money who are trying to accumulate large amounts of OMG or whatever the asset is, they want to shake you out of your position, scare you, make you think that this thing's never going to recover. It's going to just create anxiety. And so inside the trading range, it is designed by large players to chop up the weak and chop up the small players and accumulate their assets. So that's the whole point. And right now this trading range is starting to come to a head. and that applies to all things, right? So if we go back to our so if we look here for Ether USD or Ether Bitcoin, right now would be a great speculative position to take if you're trading with Bitcoin, right? Because right now we're in the spring, we're below the trading range, has a lot of growth potential ahead of it, and yeah, if you're looking to buy Bitcoin with Ether, this might be a great entry point. It's still very high from the bottom of the spring. It's still very high from the bottom of the spring. But it's still outside the trading range. So if I were looking to buy Bitcoin with Ether, I would wait for the next jump across the creek, keep a close eye on it, and wait for it to break back inside the trading range. Me personally. Okay, another great candidate is actually going to be XRP. XRP, man, I have a love-hate relationship with XRP. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this bad boy, because I've been following this one for a while as well. Okay, so let's take a look at, so this is XRP USD. Everyone's been saying, oh, XRP is dead, XRP is useless, it's just a shit coin. But if you know what you're looking at, man, XRP could be a very, very great buy in the future. Okay, it just had like some crazy markup, right? A 10x markup from its last markup phase. Here's the reaccumulation zone in here, and marked up, and now we're reaccumulating in here. Okay, all in here, and it's just been chopping people up to bits, Well, if you don't know what you're looking at, you're like, this is a garbage market. Well, it's actually not a garbage market if you know what you're doing. This is a massive reaccumulation phase again, right? And right now we're on the verge of breaking out of the trading range. Okay, so you can see it's actually broken up into two halves of the trading range. You see the upper here, you see the lower here. We broke down and found support on the lower, this would have been a really great buy opportunity. If you didn't catch it, I personally wouldn't buy just yet here. I would either wait for a retest on this or a breakout and a retest on this. You know, again, this could very easily, you don't know when the trading range is going to break out, but this could very easily become this one more time before it breaks right back out. Right now, the operators are testing their strength, and for the first time, it actually penetrated the what is it, 0.31 values. So if you had to ask me to guess if I think it's going to break out, I think XRP is going to break out in the next, like, within the next week, right? I think we're going to see a breakout and most likely a new all-time high within the next week of XRP. But don't hold my feet to the fire here, because this could very easily still be reaccumulating. We don't know until we see a breakout of this channel here. Okay, so that's XRP. And I bet if we look at XRP USD, XRP BTC, let's go ahead and look at that on Bitfinex. We'll see something very similar here. Well, what do you know? Something. Okay, so we found a little local bottom here. It could be a great buy if you're looking to purchase with Bitcoin here. But again, you don't know how long XRP is gonna reaccumulate. It could be weeks, it could be months, it could be, you know, it could be the next 30 minutes, who knows? Okay, so let's bring this back to XRP. Oops, XRP USD. Bitfinex. The fuck? Where'd my trading range go? Did I put Bittrex? Oh, that's longs. Whoops. Where's Bitfinex? Am I an idiot? Jesus, I am an idiot. What the hell's going on right now? Why is my trading range not on here? Oh, was I looking at Poloniex or something? I might have been looking at Bittrex, maybe? Yeah, there we go. Sorry, Bittrex has a longer price history than Bitfinex does, so I was charting it on Bittrex. Okay, what else are we looking at here? Let me look at my list. Okay, so question, how do you choose what to chart against versus USD or Bitcoin? Does USD sometimes work better for looking at breakouts? Okay, so here's the tip. Okay, you chart on Bitcoin to measure its relative strength to Bitcoin, right? Which is the market index for crypto. You want to see how it's performing versus Bitcoin, and if it's an accumulation zone on Bitcoin, and an accumulation zone on USD, that is a very good candidate for a strong markup phase as Bitcoin tries to find its local top, or it reaccumulates for a long period of time, and funds slosh into the alts, right? Like we see these seasons of like Bitcoin rallies, then it kind of goes through a little bear phase, or it kind of goes sideways, then the alts rally, and then they go through a bear phase, or they go sideways, and you know, blah, 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 blah. Right, so like not all of the alts just went to all shit during the last season. Like XRP, for example, it went sideways, right, within a pretty well-defined range. All right, what else? Oh, Bitcoin Cash, of course. How could I forget? Excuse me, guys. I want to get some water real quick. My throat is so dry. One second. All right, sorry. All right, so question, usually once Bitcoin, Jesus Christ. All right, so the question is usually once Bitcoin turns bearish / marks down, alts suffer. Do you think that it'll be different this time? No, I don't think the alts, I know the alts are going to pull back when Bitcoin does, or if it does, but they're going to rebound. They're gonna rebound, right? They're gonna get pulled down because of the ratio that binds them, but ultimately they're gonna rebound, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Bitcoin Cash right now. All right, here. Okay. So Bitcoin Cash is, I think, a great buy or a great candidate. Okay, so we see here that it went through a macro accumulation phase here, and now I think it lasted, what was it, let's call this October 30th to beginning of November. So if you look at here, the length of, I'm sorry, this is September 30th, September, let's say 9/28, and this is when it broke out is, let's say 11/1. Okay, so I went through a month-long accumulation phase. It had a very strong markup phase, and now it's going through a reaccumulation phase, and it's starting to break out of this gigantic bull pennant here. So here's the bull pennant here. So this whole thing is the markup phase, and right now it's going through a reaccumulation, and it's starting to test the trading range limits here. So let's zoom in a little closer. Okay, so we see here, we broke out of the bull pennant here. It made a new high relative to the previous guy, so that looks good. Volume looks very solid down here. And we see here, we're gonna have to break through all these levels of the trading range. So this is blue. Blue is the trading range, right? So we're gonna have to break through all these levels, and right now we're finding a bit of support on the previous level. So that's very good, okay? Now the next target is going to be 1744, which happens to be this Fibonacci retracement. So it's very convenient here, right in here. And if we can break this level right here, man, Bitcoin Cash is going to fucking take off. No, I don't have any doubts about it. It's just it's gonna rip hard as shit. I would not be surprised to see that again soar to $5,000. Like, that wouldn't surprise me. The target of this pennant right here is something like 3K. So if we look at, this is conservative, right? So we go from here to here. So 1784 plus whatever this is. Wait, that'll happen? Yeah, it'd be something like the 261% extension. Or I'm sorry, to the 161% extension. Jesus. I cannot stop coughing. I'm so sorry. So, yeah, so we could see a massive markup for Bitcoin Cash here, near doubling its price. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Just to see it here, test this 161% extension. So someone asks, would alts go to trading range if Bitcoin driving up now? I'm not sure I understand what you're asking here. Would you rather trade Bitcoin Cash USD pair or BCH BTC? It depends. I mean, are you owning BTC or are you owning USD? It's personal preference. else do I have on my list here? Oh, Siacoin, my little dark horse. So Siacoin, here's Siacoin. Same sort of story that we've been talking about here. Just turn Bollinger Bands off. So here's the USD pair here. And we see the same sort of trading range, accumulation trading range, right? Oh wait, I think I should have a chart of this. Wait, why is this not labeled? I don't know, whatever. So if we look here, you see a very well-defined trading range here, something like that. So we have a spring. We have a last point of support, selling climax, secondary test, and really there should be like an intermediate trading range here. We see a sign of strength right here, sign of strength. So we saw, right, so here's the creek, this is the BUEC, and now we're marching upward as it breaks out of this massive bull flag here, right? And so it's about to break out of the trading range as we speak and begin its markup phase most likely. So Siacoin should see a significant hike in price, you know, probably doubling its price. It's hard to tell how far the market phase will go, but I would venture to at least guess it's going to double its or break out of its all-time high, thus doubling its price. So we could see it move to, at minimum, 2.25 cents, right? It's at less than a cent right now, so it could be a good buy out of the trading range here. Wyckoff failed. Why did Wyckoff fail? Not really sure what you're talking about. Bitcoin going to 25K. Okay. Well, maybe you're right. I'm cutting out a bit. Like my audio is cutting out a bit. It's interesting. I don't know why that would be happening. Okay. So what else is on my list here? Oh, Litecoin, of course. Duh. Let's go to LTC USD. Coinbase. Coinbase is just going fucking ham right now. 342. What is going on? I haven't looked at Litecoin all day today. Holy shit. What is it? What is it on Bitfinex? It's not that high. What is it? Dude, there's a huge premium. Holy shit. Litecoin is going nuts right now. This real life? Jesus Christ, Charlie Lee can shill his coin. Oops, what's that? It hit 420? That's hilarious. Okay. Oh, here we go here. Interesting. So Litecoin had a trading range too. I totally overlooked this. It broke out of a trading range right in here. And you saw a massive accumulation in here. Man, I wish I would have seen that. But yeah, we're seeing a breakout of the trading range right here. Interesting. Yeah, this will be a one to watch as well. no idea where it's going to go price-wise. What does the ratio look like? Ugh, looks gross. Let's look at Bitfinex maybe. Oh, I already have this charted. Interesting. Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. The ratio is just plowing through my fib lines that I have here. Look at that. Yeah, it's finding resistance at the 23. I wouldn't be surprised to see this pull back and retest some of these fibs because it is just plowing through them. Jesus. But you see here, so this is the source of Litecoin's pump. Okay, so going back to someone's question before, like what is the best to look at? Oftentimes, the Bitcoin, the Litecoin, or the alts to Bitcoin ratios kind of provide a filter so you can actually see what's going on with the capital, because the capital doesn't always flow into a coin via the USD. Right now, it's flowing in there via Bitcoin, and it's flowing in strong as fuck right now. Because we see here a nice solid trading range right here. Very solid trading range right there. Something like that. And so we see here the spring that propelled this whole thing. And it is just going crazy. So we see a lot of Bitcoin flowing into Litecoin here. We see the spring. And we see the selling climax, secondary test. Massive sign of strength here. And to this gigantic bull flag. So what is the target of this bull flag here? This will give us some insight into where this is likely going to top out for the moment. So what is this? This is 0.005. Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll see some people take profit on here, but yeah, who knows? But overall, so it's interesting and a very interesting point here. So we see often inside of trading ranges on the lower time scales, they're actually nested inside of larger trading ranges. So we see we see an accumulation phase on the 4 hour. But something very interesting here is if we look at the 12 hour, we see a macro accumulation phase here, where this whole thing is the spring, and the trading range would be something like this. Something like that. Make you a little thicker. Like that. So we see a macro accumulation via Litecoin, or via Bitcoin to Litecoin. And here's the whole trading range in here. So a lot of these are breaking out of trading ranges. Right now, the ratio is still inside the trading range. We see buying climax, automatic reaction, secondary test, creek, and here's the jump across the creek right here. Very strong jump across the creek. So Litecoin is going to be a really great candidate once it breaks north of here. Shit, man, we could see Litecoin. Surpass the price of Ether, which would be crazy to think about, but this is looking hella fucking strong here. If this thing breaks north of here, breaks out of this trading range, this whole thing's being the trading range, shit, Litecoin could see some very strong markup in the next year. Fucking hell, dude, that looks crazy. Because it's been in this trading range since April. And it's just been accumulating, and now, boom, we're going to see a large markup on Litecoin. Wow, that's crazy. Normies are FOMOing on Coinbase? No, that's not true. I mean, yes, that is true, but that's not why this is happening. This is a very, very orchestrated effort to make this happen. This isn't an accident. This isn't foolish buying. This is very strong, powerful buying by large operators. why do you say Bitcoin is flowing into Litecoin? Because look at the volume right here. This is the Litecoin to Bitcoin ratio. That's exactly what this means, is that Bitcoin is buying Litecoin, not Bitcoin going to USD to buying Litecoin. It's Bitcoin directly is buying Litecoin directly, through that currency pair. Okay, what else do I have here? Yeah. So yeah, a lot of really great pairs, and there's a ton more of these too. But for that, you'd have to join my trading community, because I'm not going to sit here and talk about them all day. But yeah, you know, if you're looking to scoop up some alts, there's some really great buying opportunities right now and leading up. But you know, if you want to follow the live trading for this kind of stuff and what we're doing in my community, for sure check out bitcoinschmittcoin.com and join the trading community there. And you know, I know a lot of people that are buying right now in the within the buy zones that we've identified, and they're seeing some nice returns. So you know, if you want to get in on that action and know how to not get faked out in the market and know what is accumulation, what is markup, what is reaccumulation, then for sure check out my trading community there. And you know, just be aware that, you know, the community is not a pump and dump group. I can't emphasize that enough. We're not going to tell you when to buy. We're going to show you how to trade. We're going to show you how to fish. We're not going to hand you fish. We're going to teach you how to fish. So if you're willing to put in the work, I think you'll see, I think you'll be happy with the outcome. So, yeah, you know, if, again, if you're interested in purchasing these cheap alts and you want to know how to do it, like Sentiment, another great bot, another great coin that we're keeping an eye on. I've seen a lot of great plays on here, and yeah, so you're more than welcome. Check out the website at bitcoinschmittcoin.com, and maybe I'll do some live trading later on today once the market starts moving. But until then, that's all I got for you guys, and don't stare at charts too long. Oh, also, I want to make this note here, guys. This is something that I told my trading community earlier today, but this applies to everyone, obviously, right? So in the coming days, the coming weeks, and the coming months, buying coins and making profit is not going to be the hardest thing. It's going to be very easy coming up. What's not going to be easy is excuse me, is maintaining a level head and not being greedy with your coins, not being greedy and overextending yourself for bad trades. Wait for a good setup, wait for a good play, and capitalize on it. If it's not a good play, don't fucking take it. If you don't trust yourself, don't fucking take it. Set stop losses and keep your profit, and you'll come out on the top in the end. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Have a good rest of your day, and visit bitcoinschmittcoin.com to get more advice and tips on how to identify these trading ranges and hopefully make some money. All right, peace.